All right, the work session of the River Edge Mayor and Council will come to order. It is Monday, October 22nd, 2012 at approximately 7 p.m. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place posted in the Borough Hall, and notices were sent to the Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy to safeguard our infrastructure, protect the public, and providing a sense of trust and accomplishment to the residents. We do this through research and prudent planning to minimize risks while improving municipal services. We are sensitive to the needs of our taxpayers while realizing that the governing body cannot be all things to all people within the revenue constraints imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. We are on the record both by video and audio. If a member of the public would like to address the Mayor and Council, they only need to be recognized by the chair and to stand and give us their name and address. We have 3 exits in council chambers, 1 to the rear and 2 to the front. Can we all stand for a moment of silence and prayer or reflection? Can I have Councilman Mignon lead us in a salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Denise, can we have a roll call?
Councilman Murphy.
Here.
Councilman George.
Here.
Councilman Coppola. Councilman Coppola.
Here.
Councilman Mignon.
Here.
Councilman Bartolome.
Here.
Councilman Papaleo.
Here.
And Mayor Mascaratola.
Present. All right, we have 3 items on the Borough Administrator's agenda. Budget preparation 2013. Alan?
Mayor, if I may, we're going right into closed session. We have a 7 o'clock session closed that has been pre-closed.
Okay. We will go into closed session. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session. The purpose of the closed meeting is to discuss potential litigation involving the items that are listed on the agenda. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. We'll go into closed session. We'll get it done as quickly as possible, and then we can reopen the...
Push. Push. There you go.
All right, we're back into the work session. We have we're going to hear a report from our borough attorney regarding Grove Street.
Yes. Grove Street is a piece of property that's probably been before the mayors and councils over the last 25 years at least, as long as I've been associated with doing, public service work with the borough as a Board of Adjustment, Planning Board Attorney, and Borough Attorney. We've had this property appraised. The property sits on Kinnecamack Road. It's actually on the east side of Kinnecamack Road going north. It's got a frontage of about 66 feet and runs roughly about 250 feet in depth. It's what they call a split zone lot. In other words, the most easterly end of the property, which is about 50% of the property, about 7,500 square feet, is located in the C1 zone. The back portion of the property is in the R1 zone. So you've got this split zone where half the property is in residential, half the property is in commercial. The property looks very challenging because the Kinnecamack Road, at the Kinnecamack Road elevation, there's a strip of property that's 66 feet wide and it runs about 20 or 30 feet deep. It's been used for cars to park for the stores on the north and south side. But what happens once you go beyond that paved area, there's a 15-foot drop. So the property drops literally 15 feet straight down on almost a perpendicular angle. So then you've got this big drop in the property. The property is a former site of the DPW, so it was a former garage, so there could be some environmental impact issues here. But nevertheless, the property's never been developed. There have been various ideas bantered about in terms of developing it either for residential development. Basically, I looked at it from a prospect of disposing it as a municipal property that could be disposed of through public sale as property not needed by the borough. Because the property because the front end of the property and the rear end of the property don't meet the minimum zoning requirements, you may have to offer the property to the adjoining property owners before you could explore the development of the property and putting it out for the open market. But nevertheless, you have the ability under the public lands law to develop criteria for development. And the thought being is to try to develop the property, at least the proposal that I had made in this memorandum was to develop the property commercially. I think you could build a building with about a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot footprint. This would be on the first floor, and that would be at grade level looking at a Kennecott from the front elevation. And then above that you could probably put another 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. The property is 15,000 square feet, so it's a little bit it's a little more than a third of an acre. By having the property stilted, because you're 15 feet below grade from the rear of the property, you could park approximately 40 vehicles could park underneath the building and also at the rear portion. The other thought was possibly developing a public easement on the south side of the building so that you could develop a little municipal parking in the back so that the properties that depended on the parking on the front end currently could park on that property at the rear. You could designate maybe 10 spots to allow for some municipal parking for property. And you would package this deal if you could get a developer to develop it. It's more or less a user type property because it's not a huge tract of land. But in my opinion, I think you could get a developer that's interested. It could be a commercial business person in the community that would be very interested in acquiring the property, and then you could lay out the ground rules for the developer. You would have to have the property either rezoned or allow the developer to go before the local boards to develop the rear portion, which is in the residential zone. There are cases, I cited you the Stop and Shop case, which basically was a similar type case where they utilized the residential element to park vehicles on the property so that it was considered an integrated utilization of the property. I just feel that we've lost probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue over the last 30 years by leaving this property the way it is. And then maybe this is something that we should really brainstorm to develop it. I think there are people in the community that would buy that property. You can make it attractive. You could lay the parameters down for future development. In other words, give them maybe roughly a year to get all their approvals and then allow maybe 18 months to develop and build the building. This would be a condition in which you would develop and prepare in the form of like a developer's agreement and get them to develop the property if they wanted to buy it. And pretty much that's it.
Sam, when did you send this information? When did you send us this information?
I think I emailed it on, it may have been emailed on, was it Friday?
It was Friday.
Friday.
Yeah,
Friday.
Friday.
There's a lot of material there. It probably really needs a little bit of time to digest. We did a memorandum back in September of 2011 where I analyzed just the law in terms of what can be done, and then this last memorandum just gives you an idea of what could be developed on the property. And I think you could take advantage of the grade. The grade has a lot of potential because your building would be elevated, and that would allow you to park underneath. Plus you have the rear residential lot, which will allow more parking. So you could probably park about 40 vehicles on the site.
What's the value of the property?
In my opinion, I would think that property would be worth somewhere around $500,000 to $600,000 minimally. I think the big issue is getting it on the tax rolls. As a developed and improved property, let's say valued at $1 million or $1.3 million, we've been involved in a couple of sales. The Annis and Bernard property that sold a little bit south of there, I was involved in that transaction. And that was a new building that was built on the corner of Kennecott, and I forgot the intersection because it could be Richards. But I think the property would have a value, a market value. Once it's improved, at least I would say $1.2 million to $1.3 million 3, maybe more, could be as much as $1.5 million, and that would translate into roughly about $40,000 in taxes a year. So you would put that back on the tax rolls, you would generate about $40,000 a year in revenues.
Sam,
It's a property that's, nothing's happened.
I read your memo. Thank you for that. The thing that it's unclear to me is what exactly would the council need to do in order to move this forward?
Well, you would have to adopt a resolution, okay, and I think you would have to offer it to the adjoining property owners because the property is non-conforming as a commercial property. In the C1 zone, you need 10,000 square feet. The front end of the property is only 7,800 square feet. The back piece is another 7,500, but it's residential. So in essence, you would have to offer it to the adjoining property owners, but it would be offered on conditions, primarily to develop the property into a commercial development, laying out the time parameters, for the development of the property.
Yeah, I think I understood that. So what you're saying is that this body would have to have a resolution to move in that direction. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Sam, can I ask you a question? So you're presenting us with 3 scenarios, right? We could develop it, we could find someone else to develop it, we can make it into parking.
Well, I don't recommend we develop it. No, I think we sell it. Well, I don't see any reason for us to develop it unless we needed it for municipal purposes. But as I see this, it's worth more to us to put it on the tax rolls and get the property productive. And so it would be just a matter of offering it, putting it on the market and marketing it. I think you can build a good-sized building, and it's a good area.
One of the things you mentioned was having municipal parking in the back.
Well, I'm thinking about 10 spaces. Right now, you can park about, the property is 66 feet wide, so you can only park about 6 cars. You could dedicate maybe 10 or 15 parking spaces as part of a public easement for vehicles to park there. And you could provide access from Kinnekumack Road, where you would have a staircase going down from Kinnekumack Road down to the parking area. The other thing you may want to know is that on Lincoln, which is a street that runs perpendicular to Kinnekumack, you have this strip. It's like a gore strip. It's about 25 feet wide by 180 linear feet, and it literally comes to a T with the Grove Street property. So it could be an access. It could be another access route to the parking area from Lincoln. It's not large enough for a two-way street, or a two-way road. It's a paper street, or paper. It's not an improved road, and you could allow that to be an access route possibly for Grove Street. So you could come in, and you would exit out of Grove Street to get out the back.
Who would be able to provide us with an analysis of what would be the best scenario to proceed with?
I think you probably should start with an appraisal. You probably should get an appraisal and present it to her. We had this appraised by Don Helmstead a number of years ago. And Don did an appraisal on this. I can't remember what he valued the property at. This is going back probably at least 15, 20 years. And Don had done an appraisal on that for us. But as a developed property for a commercial building, that you could put roughly about 7,500, 8,000 square feet, at least a first floor footprint, which would be the most important segment, would be about 5,000 square feet. You could have a restaurant there. You could put a nice, if someone has a business that they want to relocate in that location, they would have the income from office space upstairs.
We were contacted by Mr. Schneider, I believe.
No, Schneider represents.
He represented someone that was interested in.
I met with them. What they were interested in was allowing them to park in that strip that runs 25 by 180 off of Lincoln. He wasn't interested in it
He
for
said his
himself.
client was interested in purchasing it or renting it.
Well, purchasing or renting, I wouldn't recommend selling it. I mean, you could lease it to them. That could be done, and I researched that. That'll be a subject matter of another memo. You could lease it to them. Would have to go out to public bid, no matter what. There are 2 statutes that have been adopted by the legislature in 2000. I think it was in 2007. They're almost in contradistinction of each other. But there is a case law that construed this, and it really has to go to public bid. You can't just go into a direct contract with them. And then he would be willing to improve it with crushed stone, but he would expect to be able to park vehicles in that strip. I think it would be a good idea to look at the total piece with Grove Street before we get into a contract, and then lose control over that strip. It may be part of Grove Street that you may want to incorporate in development.
Thanks.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if this should be to you, Sam, or to Alan. This property has laid fallow for 25 years. Why?
I'm not sure. I think if you look at it, the grade is a little bit daunting. If you take a look at it, from the back of Grove Street, you see this cliff from Kinnicamack Road. It's about 50
I've been
feet
there,
high.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a perpendicular climb. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's not a gradual incline. The property is relatively flat.
Yeah.
Once you go in about, I would say about 30 feet, the property drops, and then you got this flat piece that runs the length of the property, almost 250 feet long. So I think it has a good grade. I think it's just ideally suited for a stilted building, and would also maximize on providing parking underneath.
Have past councils objected to doing something with this, or just never moved on it?
It's never moved. I've heard the planning board discuss developments, like a townhouse development, sort of in a cul-de-sac coming in from Grove Street. But I think the property's too valuable, I think, and I think you could obviously develop it for better rateable with the commercial development. Plus, parking is key. I mean, most of those stores on Kinnicamack Road do not have parking.
Yeah.
So you're able to provide a little bit of parking underneath, which I think would serve not only the main building, but maybe some of the stores. You could provide, have a reservation for maybe 10 or 12 parking spaces, so that would help the stores a little bit. And then you would have a staircase on the south end going down to the lower end of the property where the parking's located. Just so that you could help the stores on Kinnicamack Road. They're small stores, but nevertheless it may help them.
Yeah.
But I think it's a user-type building. It's a type of building where someone who had a practice. It could be a medical practice. It could be a restaurant, which I think would be an ideal use. Plus, the office use would involve long-term parking. The retail or restaurant use would be basically short-term parking. So we'd have almost like a shared parking concept between the upper level and the lower level of the building.
Alan, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, the history of the property, there's been many different ideas. Mayor Raffo had proposed low and moderate income housing there at one time. Sam is right, we had a proposal for a cul-de-sac and several residential properties. There was difficulty in getting the adjoining property owners to take part in that. The police department has wanted an indoor pistol range there with parking up above. And there were several other developments that basically fell through. So it was not for a lack of trying, but it was a different scope each time, which ran into different problems.
All right. Anything else on this?
I mean, if you want, I could give a copy of the memo. We can give a copy of the memo to to our planner and special counsel, if you like, and then they may have some other ideas on it. It's a small piece of property. It's only 15,000 square feet.
So, I'm the only one asking, Kathleen and I only asking questions. Are you guys not interested in pursuing this, or Sam's suggesting that we might need a resolution? I'm just wondering where we are.
No, I think we should explore it. I'm also thinking that, we should be looking at the adjacent property owners. There might be an opportunity for them to piece together 3 parcels and make one big development, and redevelopment the whole thing. But I don't know how you flesh that out, once we talk to the owners, see if they're interested before. But yeah, no, I am interested in going forward with
We should get
some
the
sort of
appraisal
thinking.
first, probably.
Yeah, get an idea what it could be marketed at, knowing that it will be subject to getting approvals for commercial development.
All right. You want to move the appraisal here?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Well,
second.
we don't know what we're appraising, just our 2 lots? Or are we appraising the strip also?
Well,
Or
the strip is an easement we have
What's
already.
We have the easement. It would be
But
used.
is that going to be, I thought that was going to be included in any potential development, or just being used for public parking?
And I think easement would be
Right away.
access.
Yeah, the strip, I would think the strip would be more valuable to the development of the Grove Street property than to use it for public parking, you mean, that one strip, you mean, over
Yeah.
Lincoln?
Yeah.
It's very narrow, and I'm not sure what the reaction is going to be about other people in the neighborhood with the cars parked in that strip, I'm not sure.
Sam, it's 25 feet wide, you said?
It's about 25 feet
So you
wide.
can have, it's a two-way driveway.
Yeah, but you couldn't park cars in
No,
that-
but you can use it as your main access to the Grove Street.
Well, that's why I think
without
it has
having
more
to-
value to Grove Street than it does
So it should be
at,
appraised
Neighbor.
as part of that
Yeah,
lot size.
you could do it that way, yes.
Okay, all right.
So we've moved in and seconded that we're going to get the whole thing appraised,
Just get it
including the
appraised.
strip.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it should be appraised as an improved property, okay? Obviously, it has a land value, but knowing that you have the highest and best use for the property makes the land more valuable. So in other words, whoever buys it's buying it on the condition they can get approval for at least a 7,500 square foot building.
We need it both ways, though, so that we know if we do go out to bid on it, that there's because we need a reserve.
Right.
So if we don't meet that, it doesn't, if a couple people come in and say, I'll give you $1, there has to be, no, you can put a reserve, the statute allows you to put a reserve in. So we need to know what its current value is as well, so that there's we can set the
Well, the
reserve.
current value, because it is a split zone lot, it's going to have it would have probably not a very good value. I mean, obviously the value is the utilization of the residential with the commercial. I mean, if you can't use it, then it's you have no parking. So you got a nice building, but you have no place to park your vehicles. So I think you can take a look at it and have them appraise it as just raw land, but then as an improved development with parking in the residential element and a building that's at least 7,500 square feet with a 5,000 square foot footprint for the first floor, I think should be the way the appraisal should come in, because that would be the way you would present it to a potential developer. You would want them to be able to know they can put at least 7,500 square feet of building on the site to generate the highest and best value for the borrower in terms of the purchase price.
Okay. So Al, do you wish to amend your motion?
Yeah, well, I would make the motion that we have it appraised both ways, as a developed piece of property, obviously including that right-of-way that's on Lincoln, and the Grove Street property, and as an undeveloped parcel, so that we have both what it is in its current state and what it would be as a developed property.
I'll second that motion as amended.
All right, can I have a roll call, Denise?
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Papola?
Yes.
Councilman McMillan?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Papalario?
Yes.
All right, very good. All right, we're going to jump around a little bit only because we have Shade Tree here and we have the library here, so I'd like to just go right into a discussion of the Shade Tree ordinance. We have our Shade Tree Committee members come forward. Hi.
We're back.
We're back. Now-
I think we'd be back.
All right,
You want me to start it?
go ahead.
Yeah, what's happened is that I think what happened, we tried to get some of the council people involved in terms of trying to fine-tune this public tree ordinance, and I know Ed had reviewed it with them, and it looks like they reached, I think, a pretty close consensus on it with some minor modification. So my feeling is, as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem with the ordinance. I think it's a matter of both the Shade Tree and council people being agreeable. I made some minor changes on it. I thought that we should probably, in terms of demolition of a building, in terms of whether it would trigger a permit, that I thought we should use floor area, which is a municipal land use concept as opposed to volume, but again, I'm flexible on that, so I mean, I'm not wedded to it if it makes this ordinance happen.
No, it's fine. I think just that we should actually probably just define its gross floor area and then put that definition in there, so
Okay.
there's no question as to, because the key is to try to catch these big applications. So you don't want someone to say, well, I didn't change the footprint, so I'm exempt. If you say by
Right.
floor area, so go by gross floor area, so if they're going to demolish the first half of the top part of a building, that'll be under the gross floor area, and it'll trigger this, as opposed to
Okay.
it being a loophole down the line. And I guess, and just staying consistent with the land use terms, probably, we call it residential property, we probably should say it's the principal structure, because if somebody comes in for
Okay.
a detached garage, I don't know whether that's the intent at this point. I think, we have as a good starting point, and we'll see how it works out. And if we need to revisit it in a year and expand the definitions or cast a wider net, so to speak, then we can do so. But I think this should grab the biggest property offenders that we see now. And
Let me just take a look at the ordinance quickly.
Was that it, Ed?
I had one other comment. It's actually just more of a policy issue for the council's consideration. Originally, I had said that they should post these bonds prior to the certificate of occupancy. The Shade Tree Commission wants to do it at the start of the project. Mine was just thinking about, if you have a project that's going to take a couple years, not to have people tie up cash in a bond prior to them trying to develop the property. But I can understand the Shade Tree's point of wanting to get the money up front before they do any construction, so they have that money, in the bank in case something does happen. But that's something we can go with your language now and see how it works out. If there's a problem, maybe we can amend that, but I don't know just want to bring that up, because that was the only substantial change I saw based on what we've been going back and forth. So otherwise, I think, we have a good starting ordinance that I'm happy with at this point.
Okay.
So then, if I understand it, you want me to define gross floor area
Yes.
as opposed to just floor area, and then remove the dwelling and
Go to principal
substitute as
structure.
principal structure
Yeah.
on the property. And then the bond we're okay with?
I said I just brought it up. That I'm comfortable leaving it the way it is, but I just wanted to bring that up because that was the only other point that I saw as a
Yeah,
change. So we can leave it
Okay,
as
we can do that. I'll do that right away and then see if we can get everybody on board.
All right, so it looks like we've reached consensus. Sam will draft the final version, which will be put on the agenda for a first reading, and then, if it should pass, and then it'll be sent out for publication, and then it'll be put on for the public hearing and final adoption. Do I have a motion to have Sam draw up the final draft?
I make a
ordinance?
motion to have Sam draw up the final draft.
second it.
All right, and there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, could you give me a call tomorrow about the holiday tree and where it's going to be and all that stuff?
End of November.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's have the library do their presentation.
Big flyer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've handed them out, and I've also got it mailed to me.
I think you all know me, folks, but this is Randy Shannon. He's our volunteer extraordinaire, spending a lot of time helping us out with this project. This project so far has already taken a couple of years just to get to this point, but now we're working hard to roll it out and to let the whole community know all about what it is we're trying to do, and that's what this is all about. I know Councilwoman Murphy has mentioned it a couple of times in public session, and thank you for that, Kathleen. So I just thought we would explain ourselves and give you the opportunity to ask us questions, and so that you know what we're doing. So two things. This project is a fundraiser, yes, it's definitely a fundraiser. The board asked me several years ago to come up with an idea for fundraising that was more ambitious than what we were typically doing. So this is first a fundraiser, but long after the money that we raise in this project is spent, we will be left with a work of public art. So I would say to you that that is the more important aspect of this. This is a work of public art that will hopefully unite the community and will depict the whole history and culture of this community. And I wanted to show with you and share with you some of the first tiles that we've developed so far. This being the centerpiece tile of the pre-1800 site. Now again, I'm skipping forward a bit, but there will be two murals, hopefully, both in the vestibule of the library. One that's pre-1800 and one that's mostly the themes are post-1800. This will be the centerpiece tile in the pre-1800 site. and most of you could probably figure out what that is. We have George Washington crossing the Hackensack River, 1776, retreating from the British. We have the Steuben House here. We have various other characters in there. It's three-dimensional. It's quite a work of art. I think even from that distance, Mayor, you can see it's pretty impressive. Would you like a closer look?
Did you run that by Kevin Wright, or the
Yes,
historian?
yes, Kevin has been,
Historically accurate?
Kevin has been, and his lovely wife have been in,
The horses have 4 legs.
No, I was wondering about the flag. I was wondering about the flag.
it's been fact-checked.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if there were the correct number of stars and stripes on the flag. We're talking about the...
Yeah, Kevin has been
1780s there.
involved in this, helping us out from the beginning. And so, and I'll be using him again, and hopefully he'll be willing to help us out with fact-checking and making sure we get our facts right. I'll just, not to take up too much of your time, but just have a look at this. Look at the artwork of this.
My question is, like, as people buy the tiles, are you going to wait to install them until you have a whole array, or are you going to put them up as they buy them?
We may do them in installments, you know, because I think once you do the first section, people get the idea, oh, that's what they're talking about. It's very hard to visualize, I think, if you're...
Hand-painted, 3D.
Yeah. She took a loss on this one, the artist, because this is a $4,000 tile.
Wow.
And she spent so much time on it, she probably didn't make any money on it. But it's necessary to do that just to have this centerpiece tile. They have a little bit of grout in between there. It's 3 pieces.
Wow.
All right, so let me just proceed, and then I'll give you a chance to ask questions. It's not just history, but we're talking about culture, we're talking about personalities, we're talking about flora, fauna. Yeah, what's another one there? All right, that there is... I wonder if any remember the former library director, my predecessor, Jane Galgosi. That's her. She was a big birder. She was big into birds. The Friends of the Library paid for that one. Our favourite bird was the cardinal. And I don't know how many of you know this, but the cardinal is the official bird of River Edge.
I did not know that.
All right, I didn't. You know, you learn a lot of things when you do this kind of.
Where do we
stuff.
keep that information?
There's an old book in the library, there's 3 copies, and it says the history of River Edge.
I've read it.
This next one is for you, Alan. Mickey Mantle there. That's from Mickey Mantle. Most of you probably know Mickey Mantle lived in River Edge, right?
Yes.
Okay, and several other Yankees. Mickey Mantle being the most famous. This one is still available if you know anybody, Yankee fans that have $900 to spare.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
So as you can see, it's ambitious,
He's a man.
but it's forever. It's forever. This is seriously going to go in the vestibule of the library, and it's going to be there for all to see. We get 10,000 visits a month. That's a highly trafficked area. People will cherish this for many years to come, long after we spend whatever money we raise on it. And so I think, I hope it captures the imagination of the community and you and everybody that you know. Let's see what else we have. We have, this one is still available. This is Demarest Landing, which if Kevin Wright was here, we could tell you all about it. But that was sort of an economic hub in this community many years ago. You had exporting of agricultural products going on there. If you read about it, you'll see that much of the activity centered around the time of the Civil War. A lot of activity there as agricultural products and other products were needed on the front lines.
But those look like schooners.
Yes, schooners. Yes, schooners on the river. This is a river town, and basically this
The river couldn't support schooners
Mayor
now.
wants to have a tile, they can have...
no, but remember these are tidal waters.
There's some already made up, and then there's others you can
Already made up.
commission
Right.
of these tiles.
Yes.
Right?
You could
Oh, yeah.
sponsor a tile that's
And-
already made up,
Well,
right?
Some of them are already, like that cardinal would have already been in her catalogue, but Mickey Mantle wouldn't have been.
How about the famous Thomas Paine quote? Has anybody
Nobody's done that, but Thomas Payne is on my list on our website of possible tiles, if somebody so wishes. He would be a notable person, just like Mickey Mantle, so it would be an 8 by 6. If someone decided to do Thomas Payne, it would be 8 by 6, like this. And there's a special place on the mural for the notable personalities, former residents, etc.
Darrell, this is going to go in the foyer,
Yeah.
so kids will be touching it a lot.
Yeah. And we want them to touch it.
Okay.
They can handle it. I've already dropped this once at the Congregational Church. The grout became loose and it slipped off of this thing. Now I've got the industrial Velcro. It's not going anywhere now.
All right.
But, okay, so any more? Congregational Church?
This one they've already...
The church. Final.
And we want everybody to get involved. There's obviously not too many people have $2,000 to spend these days to give away to the library. So we have every print price range. These small bookends here are $100, $150, $200, and then these are slightly larger. That's $350, I think, and $250.
How have sales been going since you did the mailer?
Pretty good. We're working on now one for the 9/11 Memorial Gardens. We have that to be a big one. We already have the money for that.
Wow.
So we're working on that. We have several smaller ones, and we have thank you cards that we have to write to those people.
Did the PBA get involved in that? Or
Not yet. We will be visiting the PBA. We'll be visiting everybody that is interested in having us. Today I talked to the current events group that meets in the library, and they promised me a whole bunch of checks next week.
How much is the Borough Hall one, do you know?
The Borough Hall, well, that's up to you. How big do you want it to be? I would suggest you
First we have to paint
I would suggest
it.
you use this here.
Oh, it hasn't been done.
It hasn't been done, but we'll pick a spot for it. Obviously, that would be an important one.
Yeah, I don't want to spend people's money, but maybe we could all chip in.
And we do take, there's nothing wrong with having one for the political parties. There's no rule against that.
We'll take the biggest one you've got.
Where's Vito?
Well, I'm sorry, elephants are bigger than donkeys. So, any questions at all, please let me know. These are on a constant display outside my office in the library.
It's a great project. How long do you think it's going to take to complete? A couple of years?
And that's the $20 question. Yeah, I think it's not going to happen, overnight. And nor do I want it to. I want to enjoy this. Those are my kids, by the way. In the back. And I had to bribe them with a lot of things just to get that shot off in my office.
A lot of thought and work has gone into putting this together, so Derek, good job.
Yeah, we'll keep at it until it gets done. The interior makeover started about 5-6 years ago, and we've just sort of made
But even
progress
these
in that.
professional brochures, in mailing them.
Every household in Riverhead, and I'm talking it up also because some people unfortunately, not everybody, they tossed it to mail, so I'm busy publicizing, so if you can also publicize it.
Yeah.
It's nice.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Nice to have
Thank you.
public art.
Thanks for having
Awesome
us.
work,
Thank you.
both of you. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Darrell.
Oh, and Sunday, 2:30, we have a
Jazz.
jazz band. We'll be trying to sell more of these tiles there as well. We'll reply those who attend with wine and cheese. Hopefully that'll help. So 2:30 we have a jazz concert. Dr. Jubilees and the Agnostics swing by. We expect a big crowd for that. Right.
Are you selling tickets for that?
No, it's free. Everything's free in life. We don't charge. You can't charge. All right, so...
Thank you, Darrell. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Now we can do the Borough Administrator topics. Alan, budget preparation 2013.
Thank you, Mayor. This week we'll be sending out the forms to the departments. We're looking for a return on the capital items by November 15th, with everything else by November 28th. We've also sent out the 5-year capital plan information to the departments. asking for that to be returned by November 15th. So tonight, I'm here to provide the council with the opportunity to discuss the process. I need guidance on whether to invite the citizens back for this year. When would you like to hold your first meeting? Any other guidance that you'd like me to receive with regard to the process? Are we following a traditional hearing schedule of bringing in the departments for their operating budgets, small or large? I'd just like to hear the council's thoughts on this so we can start to structure, the process.
Ed? I was just thinking, just maybe first having the Finance Committee meet to talk about what kind of process we may want to have, and then maybe make a recommendation to the council instead of talking about it now. But if Tom's available,
Yeah.
if you can answer a good idea, we can...
When do you want me?
When are the emergency appropriations and transfers made?
First meeting in November, we'll start making transfers, Mayor.
Next week sometime?
Is that November 5th?
Yes, we may have a transfer resolution on for November 5th.
We're
30th?
gonna-
Tuesday?
Are we going to do the same thing as we did last year with a small group that met?
That's why I want to talk with the Finance Committee. We can come up with some ideas and then bring it to the council, and we can decide then.
Costa's supposed to have a meeting with the Voorhees Avenue Neighborhood Society from 6 to 7.
That's when?
That's the 29th Monday.
Oh, October. How about, it's Halloween.
30th would work,
30th,
Tuesday.
what about 29th, that work, Monday?
Well, Costa's having that meeting with
What time is
Voorhees
that?
Avenue, and I really wanted to show my face.
What time is that?
That's from 6 to 7, I believe.
Alan, traditionally, when does
Oh, can we meet
the
at-
council usually
Meet
meet?
at 5?
That's
On a
fine.
Saturday morning to begin the budget
No.
process.
I can be here at 5:15.
Okay, let's say 5.
But that's too, I don't have a faculty meeting to 5.
So we might meet right
So
after Saturday.
5:15 Monday?
It's too early. Because the Finance Committee has to meet after the league, and we have to meet after the Finance Committee, so let's make it
Then you have Thanksgiving
the
there.
beginning of December. We can have the first full budget meeting with the representation from the Citizens Budget Committee, and by that time, the Finance Committee will have met.
We're going to meet
Yeah, the
this Monday at
recommendations.
5:15.
Okay. So when's our, are we meeting on December 3rd?
Yeah, that would be our first meeting.
All right.
we
So
got
why don't
Thursday,
we-
8th for first session.
Can we meet at 6 o'clock? Do you want to meet at an hour before our regularly scheduled work session to go over the budget, or do you want to start meeting on Saturday mornings?
Well, I think that's what we're going to try to...
hammer out.
Come up with a
Maybe,
process, and then we'll have a recommendation for the first meeting in November, and then we can decide then, I think.
Maybe we can avoid those Saturday
Yeah?
meetings.
All right, so what do you want to
So I said we're going to meet on Monday, so we're ready to
All right.
report back to the first meeting in November.
At the next meeting, you'll have...
Yeah, we'll
recommendation.
go back on the 5th.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Alan, Verizon versus the Borough of Hopewell.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a topic that we addressed several years ago. Verizon has made a claim that they do not owe personal property taxes for any municipality that has less than 51% of Verizon services. As people move away from landlines to cell phones and other types of lines that are not counted under the statute, there's a loss of assessed value, and ultimately the law, as it stands now, says that if they don't have a majority of the usage, then they don't have to pay these taxes. So approximately 7 municipalities lost these taxes several years ago. Another 50 were scheduled over the next several years, and other towns have been losing value since then. So I distributed this letter of support from East Brunswick. They're looking for us to either issue a similar letter, or I could suggest a resolution expressing support for the position. And that would be my recommendation, to do a short resolution supporting the letter that's already been drafted and issued by the attorney for East Brunswick.
All right, any discussion? Does anyone want to make a motion in support of Alan's idea for a resolution to support municipalities in its ongoing challenge by Verizon regarding public utility tax
I would make a motion to support that.
by a resolution?
Yes, by resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And then there's the Contracts Committee.
Mayor, I'm sorry, we had former Councilman Porco on this committee, which left a vacancy. Currently, I believe it's the Mayor, Councilwoman Murphy, serve on this committee. Sam Suresti, our Borough Attorney, assists the committee in the review of various contracts. So I don't know whether you want to fill that vacancy at this time.
Which member of the Republican majority would like to serve on the committee?
I'd make a motion that Anthony Capola.
I'll serve, yeah.
All right. So Councilman Capola is appointed to that Contracts Committee.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yep. If only everything could be that easy.
Please.
For discussion, Yeshiva of North Jersey, decorative lighting. Has everybody reviewed Sam's memo?
Yes.
All right, I think, Sam, you want to give us your opinion again in a nutshell?
Yeah, in a
So it's on the
nutshell,
record?
basically, I don't find any legal basis to compel the yeshiva to pay the utility charges associated with the decorative lighting. Can it be done? It can be done, but it would have to be on a volunteer contributory basis. You can develop a policy where if we are providing a streetscape, or let's say the commercial corridor of the borough, that our planning board encourage the applicant at the time when they're in the process of filing their application, that they would absorb the utility charges associated with the decorative lighting, and see if we can get a commitment which would incorporate in the developer's agreement. Short of that, our ordinance, which basically is a duplication of the statute, the site plan ordinance, makes no provision for assessing utility charges against the developer. There's one reported decision which was a subdivision where the streets were being dedicated to the borough, and the town tried to impose the utility charge of electricity, and the court ruled specifically on that point, stating that there's no provision in the municipal land use law that allows you to assess a developer for electrical consumption. But it can be done. I mean, if someone has a plan, they have a project before the borough, they agree to install the landscape element to their development, that would be the appropriate time to raise the issue where we would allow the metering of these decorative lamps to go with the adjoining property owner.
Do you know of any other town in this area that is doing such a thing?
I don't know. I don't know if it's ever really come up, but certainly I don't see any reason why not. I mean, it's not an enormous charge, plus it's a benefit to them. We do have other street lamps, so the decorative lamps really, I'm not sure if the decorative lamps are all sufficient lighting to light the street. We do have the taller lamps on the street. But I mean, I think it is an enhancement to the development that's on the street. It makes it look nicer, and they may be willing to do it on a volunteer basis. It helps the borough out a little bit.
All right, so I would request from the council that that no formal action be taken at this time, only because I am scheduling a meeting to meet with the head of the yeshiva to speak to them about several issues, including security, the recent luring incidents, this decorative lighting, and a couple of other matters. And I'd like to meet with the yeshiva first and then report back to the council as to my discussion with the head rabbi over there.
Rabbi Goldstein.
Yeah, Rabbi Goldstein. And then see what we can work out. I mean, they are tax exempt, and Alan.
Mayor, we did receive another letter from Thomas Barrett, who represents the yeshiva. Would you like me to write him back, telling him that it has been discussed and considered by the governing body, but, any decision will be pending your meeting?
Yeah.
And just stay in touch with him.
And could we, I don't know how we would go about getting from PSE&G, whether it's cheaper, or what the cost would be on an annual basis if these lights were metered, versus if we can get them into an unmetered category where it would be a fixed fee?
Yeah, because that's my concern too. 'cause that
And
bill is-
then at least then the planning board would have something to work from also if this becomes an issue in the future. Because I think to get it unmetered, it may be a nominal fixed fee, and then somebody might be more willing to assume that cost rather than metering it separately and paying a separate bill for
Yeah,
it.
theirs are metered right now.
There's a meter, but I wonder if they can be unmetered also.
I
but-
could ask our representative that question.
Okay. All right, so if everybody agrees, just let me meet with the yeshiva, and then I can report back before we take formal action. Alan, stormwater drainage license agreement.
Yes, Borough Attorney may want to make some comments on this, but we requested that he put together a license agreement. We have one resident who is looking to tie into our stormwater system over at Memorial Park. I think that was previously described to the council. But this would be a model agreement for those types of situations where a private property would need to tie into the public property. We still have some blanks in the document. We're waiting for the borough engineer to provide his comments and recommendations on some of these areas, but we put it in front of you just to have any comments or concerns. Sam, is there anything you want to add?
No,
to this?
basically what I did, I designed this as a template so you could use it in the future. Essentially, I think what's important is that it is truly a license agreement, which means that it's permission that's revocable, so that if for some reason the borough decides that the needs of the borough are no longer served by the agreement, that we can, the agreement can be terminated.
All right, any questions? Does everybody agree to the form of the license agreement? Can I have a motion to make that the official form that to be used for these types of requests to tie into the stormwater management system?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we have 6 items on the work session consent agenda. Would any member of council like to pull out for discussion any of these 6 items?
Number 6, Mayor.
Okay,
Just number 5, there's no amount.
all right.
I
Okay, that's,
And,
Well,
Mayor,
that's important.
Yeah.
Mayor, I would
Yeah,
like to,
that should be tabled until we can
Yeah.
get it out.
2 and 3, I would just like clarification on.
2 and 3. All right, well, let's do them individually. Then. How about number 1?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Number 2, approve a change in the personnel policy and procedure manual. Adding a paragraph, employees authorized, that's the one regarding borough vehicles. And if you're using a borough vehicle to, I think the memo said, Alan, that if you're using a borough vehicle and you're taking it home, then it's going to be added as a taxable fringe benefit, right? Okay.
Both of these we've been doing in practice. The purpose here is just to codify these practices that we've had in the past and make them part of our personnel policy and procedure manual. So for instance, on the vehicles, police and fire are exempt from this IRS requirement. We have our superintendent of public works who does take a vehicle home, and we have been adding that amount to as a taxable fringe benefit to his W-2 at the end of the year. So this would just memorialize that practice from now and into the future. Likewise with the other resolution to go on, we also request the council to approve severance payments, vacation pay and things of that sort when somebody leaves. We don't have any terminal leave for sick leave, but for vacation leave or a 585 benefit, you would approve that. So in practice, we've done that, but this would make it codified. This particular administrative citation also requires that the CFO prepare a certification for the governing body's review of that severance payment.
Isn't this number 3 something that was discussed in the toolbox, that they were trying to limit that?
There was legislation in the legislature which the governor refused to sign. So this sick pay terminal leave has gone nowhere at this point in the legislative area. But this does not limit the sick leave. This just makes sure there's full and complete disclosure, and communication with the governing body.
And Alan, just to clarify, the fire department and police department are exempt?
Yes.
The only one right now is John Lynch that's being this fringe
Yes.
benefit.
Yes.
What does it come out to a year?
I don't have that information. It was done, when he became superintendent. I don't know what the amount is.
You don't know if it's 5,000, 10,000?
I wouldn't want to put a guess to it.
Did, Alan, number 3, was that discussed? Do you guys remember discussing that at the Personnel Committee? That item number 3 regarding terminal leave?
Yeah, these were discussed and minutes of the meeting were distributed to the council.
All right.
Need a motion on number 2? I'll make a motion on the adoption of work session consent agenda item number 2.
All right, there's a motion on number 2.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, number 3.
I'd make a motion on item number 3.
Second. Any further discussion on item number 3?
I'm going to abstain. I don't understand it enough. I don't have enough information on it.
All right, let's have a roll call vote on number 3. We have a second by Council President Courts.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Abstain.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilman Pistono?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
All right, number 4, approval for capital alternatives to compile an application for the sidewalk improvements
Second.
to the schools. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 5.
We're tabling that, right?
We're tabling that because there's no amount.
No.
There's a motion to table. There's a second.
Second.
All in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
All right, number 6.
I could have sworn I read that the request for 3,000 and now it says 2,000. But if I remember what I read, it was he had reached 80%, and so now he's requesting more. But I still wasn't clear why he was requesting more. I'd just like some clarification on that before we vote on it.
Well, the original proposal was for $1,000 for construction inspection, and that was long before I think we went through a lot of the changes in location and things that are happening out there. We ran into a large rock, for instance. So I think his intent was to go from 1,000 to 3,000 with the $2,000
that's what it-
differential. That's how Denise and I read it.
Okay, then I understand what it is, because I saw the 3,000, I saw your 2,000, and I was getting confused, and I assumed, I just wanted to confirm in open chambers that it was because of the obstacles that he'd met and the greater requirements.
Yeah, and he appropriately contacted us and let us know the status of his contract, and that's why we're before you tonight.
Yeah, right, so I saw that.
All right. So I'm glad that project is moving ahead. Mr. Carroll would like to hear that we're moving ahead with that. So are we going to move for the extra engineering cost?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Does any particular member of council have a report this evening, or do you want to
Do we
wait
do
until
number-
the...
it is-
Sorry, Mayor, you don't have the revised agenda.
I don't have the revised.
We have Jeff, he's working on...
I'll make a motion on number 7.
Number 7 is to apply the dividend as a credit, right?
Yes.
To our first 2013 installment. There's a motion and a second?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained?
Thank you.
All right, any council report? No.
We do one unfinished business, maybe?
Unfinished business, okay?
It's just a matter of scheduling. Came up with the planning board meeting. They know we were considering that potential rezoning request down on Park. They wanted the council to know was that they're not sure they're going to have a quorum for their November meeting, so they were just concerned about when we were going to potentially introduce that ordinance. So they're hoping to be later in November, so they'd have the opportunity to review it either at the work session at the first week in December or the December meeting.
I don't know, looking at this before we met, and we talked about it was introduced on the 5th, but 35 days would be in December anyway.
So may have to introduce later on, and then give them, and we can have this, if we have a public hearing, it could be in December, because it's supposed to be the same calendar year, correct, for an ordinance?
Yes.
So, I think if we wait till later in November to introduce it, it gives the planning board that window to...
Is that 35 days going to make it?
Well, the only thing, I would caution the council against, you can't introduce an ordinance this year with a different council next year, so they can't split it.
Yeah, that's right. But if we introduced it, say, the second meeting in November,
Just try to make it to the second meeting in December?
If we do it on the 5th, that the 35th day is on December 10th. So that's only going to give you the 17th, really, to
Right.
adopt the ordinance. If you push that introduction even further into November, you're not going to make
You're not going to make it.
because
So the
we
5th
can't
is
promise
good.
what the schedule is going to be the last week in December.
Right. So we'll
So,
have plenty of time, Ed. If we introduce
Yeah.
on the 5th, it doesn't matter if it's longer, I mean, if it's 35 days, when are they going to be meeting?
well, we're going to miss they won't be able to do it for the work session in November, and they're not sure because the regular meeting is scheduled the week of the league, and with other potential absences, they're not sure they're going to have a quorum that week for the regular meeting in November.
about early December, did they schedule something?
So we have a work session the first Thursday in December.
Right, it's
That's good.
December 6th.
So, yes, and then the regular meeting would be 2 weeks after that, which would be too late
Yeah,
then.
17th
Yeah.
would be fine for us.
That's fine.
Mhm.
All right.
That works.
It was just a matter of schedule, and that was their concern, so.
Just want to ask a question.
Unfinished business?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask Alan about the letter that we got from Governor Christie's office, the DOT, regarding the bus shelters. There was, we had to have them in compliance with ADA and all this other stuff.
Yeah, we wrote back and told them that New Jersey Transit is driving this,
Uh-huh.
and that, I'm sorry, I'm having a recollection now of it. Yeah, he had seen the newspaper
Yes.
article on it,
Mhm.
and I think the impression he had was that we were putting the bus shelters in ourselves, basically.
Uh-huh.
And we wrote him back and told him New Jersey Transit, and he could reach out to New Jersey Transit if he had any questions or concerns about,
That's fine.
the ADA aspects or anything else regarding that, because it was their specification, basically.
And also, we had someone reach out to us regarding a proclamation. Denise, if we could have one for November 5th. There's a gentleman in town that's turning 100, and his family would like us to do a proclamation.
I've
So,
been emailing her back and forth, and the mayor today gave me
Yeah.
information.
so
Yeah.
that they're- yeah, Hamlet,
Yeah,
Hamlet Campagna.
Campagna.
Born-
Hamlet
born-
Gasparo Campagna.
Yeah.
Born November 4th, 1912.
Yep. So he's been here 64 years, so,
We have under control, we have it.
okay.
I think he was a famous cartoonist at one time.
He did the cartoon,
Huh?
Bringing
Was he?
Bringing Up Father, and also known as Jiggs and Maggie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
What happened on February 5th?
And also, as far as the Cientia property, what's been corrected down there?
I just made a visual inspection today, and it looks like the lawn or high grass or ragweed has all been taken care of. Some of the debris has been removed. They have not done anything yet with regard to the wall. I think the construction code official has still issued a letter on that. The silt fence is not required according to Bergen County Soil Conservation. There were no findings by fire prevention. The health department did reach out to them. That's what I can report.
All right.
Where are we with the update of the borough software?
I don't know, that's technology, that's the technology committee.
There's no,
No.
So wait till next year.
No, but we discussed it, I got quotes,
Okay.
and Alan's going to be meeting, I guess, with you when we get a chance in November.
Seeing funding's available. If not, we may do a transfer of funds this November.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other unfinished business? Any new business? Denise, did you receive a request from Virginia Quarterweg on presentations for her foundation?
She called me quickly a couple weeks ago, and I said it would be fine, and you doing something.
Right.
So, the class is being done.
Okay. Oh, it's okay, I'll tell everybody about it so that it's not,
Okay.
so that it remains a surprise.
Try to look at
And,
it. I'll reach out to her.
yeah, but don't tell her about it, it'll be a
I will
surprise,
not.
you know, I'll get everybody to chip in.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be with taxpayer money. Any other new business? Okay, let's open the hearing to the public.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have two valuable members of the public here. Which one would like to speak first? Casey.
What's going on the doors?
Alan? The doors.
Bids are due in the end of the month. We had a pre-bid meeting. We had one vendor show up for that. And we have had a couple of calls. Denise has been fielding some questions this week on the specifications from a couple of other vendors. So we'll have to see whether we receive bids on the 30th.
One addition, I happen to be walking in with Casey tonight, and we're coming through the door near the fire department, and that lip is pretty hard to get over. And Casey said at one point he thought there was a ramp or something.
Previously, there used to be like a small piece of diamond plate that they had made into like a triangle shape that they put up against that, and I could ride up over it.
Where, Borough Hall?
Yes, but at the police
The other
department,
regime
at the
is
public
easier.
safety
Police
side,
department?
yes, because it's a pretty,
It's a
it's
3
a jarring, it's a,
Yeah,
so...
I'll look into that as a
Like
temporary.
a sidewalk in this town.
Yeah, 3 inches is not in compliance, right? What is it supposed to be, a half an inch or
Quarter inch.
quarter inch?
We'll look into that.
I was going more than an inch.
Used to be a quarter.
Even an inch is tough to push a chair up.
The curb used to be a quarter inch, they lowered it to 0, as you know, the handicap ramps, so...
Gotta have some upper body strength, right? Or a powerful motor in that thing.
Powerful, but it doesn't climb it.
Yeah, it didn't, yeah, no, it was...
It had to actually
I
pull back
physically had
up
to
far enough so that I could...
help him push him over it.
He could push me up over it.
What about in the wintertime? You put
I don't
chains
go out.
on, no chains on that
Cold.
thing?
I'm stuck in the house.
No snow tires for that?
Yeah.
No?
Still trying to figure out a way to put chains on it, though.
Studs?
Just
maybe
annoying my wife.
Stud tires. All right, anybody else have a question?
Our generator oversight committee has had a few meetings, and we do have some problems since the generator is 5 weeks out. I think we got to start moving on that with Alan.
Neil, could you give us an idea of what kind of problems you run into regarding, like engineering problems?
£300 transfer switch on a piece of plywood that's supposed to last for the next 20 years, little things like that. And the man in charge of building and grounds wants a block wall covered with brick so that it looks nice from the street, but it's going to be substantial enough to hold the 300-pound transfer switch, which actually transfers from public service to the generator. And then, of course, my own little backup for the backup project in case so that we have something the nights that the police department would have to move to the library. the program that we came up with to actually let them stay in place with a couple of minor modifications to the existing building, which are basically minuscule, we found out from the architect the other day. It's just a couple of boxes that have to be put in, and a line run from records down to the generator area, because that's actually where all the internet comes from, and all the lookups for the police department. They would possibly have them in the cars, but they wouldn't have them at the desk. So there's just a couple of minor things that we went over with the architect and the contractor the other day.
All right.
But basically, what we're looking for, Mayor, there's two issues. One is the issue with the transfer switch. Because of the relocation of everything outside, the contractor came up with a solution which, speaking with Mr. Del Percio, myself, John, and Neil, we don't think it was adequate. And he was going to revisit that and see if there's a possible change order there. The second issue is with essentially optimizing some of the electrical circuits, which would make it easier in the future as a like actually what Neil said. I call it a redundancy. It's a backup to a backup. The police department wanted to have smoother transfer to a third generator in the event that the new generator did not work. And there's certain circuits which aren't part of, and that's what, but he's correct, they're minor issues, so they're looking at what it's going to do to do that. And I said, well, he's got to get the information, then we'll bring it to Alan and the council if it's going to be a cost impact. But,
one downstairs, isn't it?
sorry?
Don't we have that old one downstairs?
Well, that's coming out.
So it's going to be transferred somewhere else, down to Company 2, isn't it? Was that going to be transferred?
No, this one, it's not usable.
It's an anchor somewhere, it's probably going to go with the fish down to...
A reef system?
But essentially, there's certain circuits which were not covered under the existing emergency panel, which the police department would like to have covered under the current emergency panel.
This
It has to do with some...
in
it's, yeah.
1978.
And Neil's been very helpful. There's some issues with lighting hallways and things which are not...
There
which
are
are
no
safety
lights.
issues.
There's lights at the desk, but you can't go to the bathroom, and you can't get flares, and you can't get radios or flashlights. You gotta walk your way down the hall. It's totally amazing when the desk has lights and that's it. But since 1978, whether it be George Cook's gas station, us going down with George and getting belts for the police generator, or George O'Connell and I running wires down into the basement to get the telephones to work and the radios to work. We had the ladder truck out here one night and had to pull Oradell for a working fire on Summit Avenue because we couldn't leave the police department without any power. So I've been working on these projects. I get in the fire department in '65, and since '78 we've had major problems where the generator failed. And we're busy enough when that happens, and they're under the gun, and to see Mike Walker walking down with a milk crate to the library and losing their entire radio system, where you can't talk from one end of town to the other, I think it's a crime. So for a few modifications, we can share that with the mayor.
Okay.
I have a copy tonight.
All right.
Simple.
All right, good. Any other new business? No?
I have another question I'd like to ask.
Yeah, Casey.
With the sidewalks around the whole town, not just, say, out here, the Shade Tree Commission, are they appointed by the mayor and council?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Explain to me then how under the ordinance, and I don't remember the number, the one I came up about with the sidewalks the other day, and Judy gave me the copy of it. I don't remember the name of it. You know, it tells you which one is, who's responsible for it. That the trees are to be pruned on basically a good basis to keep them from becoming overgrown. Now, you say it's the homeowner's responsibility for the curb and the sidewalk. Your Shade Tree Commission is not taking care of their trees if they're lifting the sidewalks. I don't see how you can possibly say it's the homeowner that has to replace these.
Hey, it's been a long-standing practice where in many instances, the Shade Tree Commission permits a homeowner to have their sidewalk raised, to trim the roots back, and then to replace the sidewalk.
Casey, let Alan finish.
Trying to respond, that's
Yeah.
all. So I know that has been a practice, and that is allowed in certain circumstances.
Casey, the Shade Tree Commission, they don't have a budget. They have a, I mean, when I say they don't have a budget, they have a budget that is a few $1,000s that covers stump removal, stump grinding. That's what they do. Their job is to assess the condition of the public trees, the borough shade trees, and to recommend, let me finish, and to recommend to the DPW if a particular tree should come down or should be trimmed. That's their one and only jurisdiction. They don't have jurisdiction over the sidewalks. So, because in most cases, your property deed covers up to the curb line, then...
Goes actually a little further out into the street, doesn't it?
Right. Then it's the homeowner's responsibility to maintain the sidewalk. Even though there's, Councilman Bartoloni knows that there's immunity for fall downs on sidewalks if you're in front of a owner-occupied residential home. But for a commercial property, there's liability for falling down on a commercial sidewalk where there's a defect. So
You're saying that there's a what for the homeowner? Like the homeowner's not responsible?
the homeowner is if
On a
there's
wall.
if there's a raised slab because of a tree, and it's in front of a single-family owner-occupied home, and someone's walking down and they catch their toe and they go falling head first and they crack their skull. And Councilman Bartoloni can have his own opinion, but traditionally there would be immunity under state law to sue that particular single-family homeowner. All right?
I don't know where the councilman and yourself are getting this information. But I questioned my insurance agent about who should be responsible for the tree,
Right.
the sidewalk, and the curb if it's a tree. And he said, well, it is the homeowners in most towns. And then I posed the same question to him. And he said, if they have a shade tree commission and they're supposed to be checking the conditions of these trees, and Alan said it had been policy before that they would say it's okay to lift up and cut the roots.
Yes.
There's only one problem, that the majority of the trees that are lifting these sidewalks are not, little Christmas trees that tall. These things are 75 feet tall or taller. You start cutting those roots, it's like you take one shoe off, you're not going to be standing the same way, you're going to be a little off balance. You've just screwed up the integrity of that whole tree system. We get some of that windstorms like we had last year, they're going to come down, they're going to hit somebody's house. Who's going to be responsible then? The town. Because they gave the okay to cut those roots, and they've been appointed by the commission, the council and the mayor.
Yeah, these are all what we call Title 59 governmental immunity issues. It's a very complicated area of the law. There are attorneys that write books about sidewalk liability and things like that. The Title 59 is very clear that municipal governments have to exercise a reasonable approach within the budgetary constraints that are imposed upon them to maintain their infrastructure. We can't spend all our money fixing every broken slab and broken sidewalk in town because there wouldn't be enough money to pay the police and
free lunch, huh?
and to pay the police and to pick up the garbage and to snowplow. So, we have a schedule. We have so much money allotted to the Shade Tree Commission, so much money allotted to sidewalks and curbs, so much money allotted to replacement of traffic signs, and we do the best job we can within the...
They are volunteers that have
Yeah.
regular jobs
I
during the
know
day.
that, just like I was.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. But something's got to be done there. It really does. I mean, I can't even ride down from the library down the sidewalk without coming up to something that's worse than that lip at the police department. And I don't have anybody around. I can't go up on some people's lawns because of the way it's edged. It's like 4-inch high, the edgings in some places. And some people I've seen have even put like a little decorative border around it, you know, to hold the dirt back in.
Around the shade tree?
No, around the edge of the sidewalk. You know, they've edged it, and it's got that much of a grass base to it, like a hunk of sod, it looks like.
Right.
The edging of it. They put a decorative border in to hold it in. And if it's like a 3 or 4-inch lip up onto the grass, I might be able to climb it, but it's going to be one heck of a twist like this. I don't feel like falling. I've done that once. It hurts.
The only thing I can tell you, if you have a particular address, location, you can snap a picture with your cell phone or something, get it to us, we'll route it to
Last year,
our code enforcement
I brought
official.
in something like 25 pictures, and my daughter handed them out to each of the council back then. I don't know if any of you were here
I
last
wasn't,
year.
Casey, I wasn't the mayor last year.
I know you weren't. I'm just saying, you know, it's not the easiest thing. I can't take pictures. I couldn't take them before I had my health problems, but I can't take them now. My hands are like this. You know, I just can't do that. And to get my daughter to come down and do it, because she lives up in Vernon, that is a pain. You know, it's not like she's coming from around the corner. And you want to know where they, you know, you were saying, take a picture of it or get an address, I think you said?
Yeah, a location.
From the corner of Midland Avenue up to Fifth Avenue. You pick your spot. There's at least one slab that's 6 inches high. I'm serious. Pick your spot.
Yeah, but I'm not going to walk from Midland Avenue to all the way up. You just give me the address. Just give me the address, and I'll have it checked out. But Casey reminded me of something that I wanted to bring to council's attention regarding our Complete Streets program and the borough map. The map that I think the map that we have in Borough Hall that we use on a regular basis and give out to people is a map that was I think it was a map designed by Mr. Costa, and it's for zoning purposes. We don't have a map because it's come up as an issue regarding these the pedestrian improvements we want to make. We don't have a map that shows which intersections have signals, which intersections have stop signs, where the location of the crosswalks are, so that somebody like the Traffic and Safety Committee could look at the map and say, and point to the map and say, this is where there's a crosswalk, we should have a sign here, this is where there's a stop sign. So, can we get Mr. Costa to do a map showing where traffic controls are?
We need a resolution
I
for
would
that.
get a proposal from him, because
Yeah, we need to get a
that could be
proposal
anything,
from
that could be
him.
$1,000, it could be a $50,000 project, depending on what he decides.
Let's get a proposal from him, because he already has the map in his computer.
No, but if he's going to start going out and try to survey locations, I would make sure
They may have
his scope is
taken a
very
tax
defined.
map and marked it up.
No, they don't. I spoke to the chief today. I spoke to the chief today, and I showed him the map that we have, and he said that the map that they have is even older and doesn't even include some streets on it that exist now. So they don't have a, you know, if we've adopted by resolution a complete streets program, and along with that there should be a map showing where these improvements are.
An inexpensive map.
Yes.
Inexpensive. I mean, we already have a map. We already have a map.
So you're asking Mr. Costa to go and revisit this map?
No, it's basically, you know how it can be done? It could be done in the field is one way,
Go on Google Maps.
or
But you have to give Mr. Costa that
there's
direction.
another way, because
you don't have a survey crew at
every
corner.
let me get your attention. Let me get your attention. The other way is that we have a borough code book, and in the borough code book, if everything was enacted properly, it shows, there's an ordinance that shows what streets have stop signs and what streets have no parking on this side. And it's a matter of somebody reading the code and then going to the map and drawing it in. It should be as easy as that. In theory.
Things seldom work.
So Alan, if we can get a...
We'll get an RFP out to them and see what it'll cost.
Yeah. All right, any further business? Can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.